Is Elektra Nachios ready to deal with a ghost from her past and Kraven the Hunter? Well, let's hop into the pages of Daredevil Woman Without Fear issue number 1, a tie-in to Devil's Reign, and find out together. Alrighty then, so this issue actually opens up by restaging the showdown between Elektra and Kingpin from the last issue of Devil's Reign. You'll remember that Kingpin had thought Elektra had come to kill him, and in truth, as we hear from Elektra's own internal monologue, she herself wasn't 100% certain what she was going to do when she went to Kingpin's office that night, and when she ended up sparing his life, she felt, well, kinda lost. If you've been reading Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil book, you'll know that Elektra swore to uphold the heroic ideal, to honor Matt's legacy as Daredevil, as she herself had accepted the mantle. And by and large, things had gone pretty good for her. She begun to understand the preciousness of human life, but now Matt is back, Kingpin is on the warpath, and everything is all mixed up. Another thing Elektra was able to find out from the Kingpin, though, is that Wilson Fisk had disseminated his treasure trove of blackmail material on the superhero community for consumption. Her file was bought up by Kraven the Hunter, who is challenging her to a fight at the place where she first tried to recruit Daredevil himself. Elektra goes to Matt to get him up to speed on everything she's learned, but in the end, they mostly just kind of end up having sex. Hey, you know what? World's on fire, everything's coming apart, might as well do something that feels good. Now, all of this different stuff with Matt, the Kingpin, and now Kraven has Elektra feeling mighty nostalgic. She thinks back to her original training at age 12 with Stick, who, whether you knew it or not, was one hell of a cruel taskmaster. Not to be confused with the supervillain Taskmaster, mind you. He never listened, never seemed like he cared, and Elektra began to resent him. Now, back in the present, Elektra has returned to her and Matt's old alma mater, Columbia University, where she ends up running into an old friend of theirs, Goldie, who is now the DA. Elektra had come here thinking she was about to do some killing, but now she decides to grab a coffee with an old friend to catch up. Well, catch up as much as Elektra can do. She has to make a lot of lies and excuses to explain her extraordinary life. Elektra talks about how when her father died and she left school, she felt she was free. Academia was a little bit stifling for her, but in her own weird way, she put herself back in another cage, another type of stifling, maybe. It's during this conversation across the street, Elektra ends up seeing a ghost from her past, a mysterious woman whose name we learn is Akka. Who is Akka? Well, apparently in a bit of retconning, we learn that she's the one who actually brought Elektra into the Han Ninja Clan in the first place. Unlike Stick, she listened. Or at the very least was manipulative enough to pretend to listen. She took this angry young woman that was Elektra and helped shape her into a precision weapon of ultimate destruction. Elektra actually tried to kill her upon their first meeting, but Akka took her down by using a single splinter to attack one of her pressure points. Elektra is understandably confused and taken aback as why Akka would appear right now, if that's even her. Had she caught wind about Elektra's ultimate plan to marry Matt and take down the Han once and for all? Is this some sort of Kingpin trick? She can't be certain, so she decides to give chase in her sports car in a scene that wonderfully mirrors several similar scenes from the original Frank Miller stories. By the time Elektra does manage to catch up to Akka, she says no words and simply throws herself off a cliff. As we learn in another flashback, it was actually Akka who gave Elektra her first pair of trademark size, before eventually giving her the mission to return to America and seduce and or kill Matt Murdock. And well, we all pretty much know how that mission turned out, don't we? Elektra is ready to leave, only she ends up crashing her car as someone has laid a trap for her. Not just any trap either, a net. Elektra notes that this certainly isn't the style of the Hand and certainly isn't the style of Akka, and that is because the trap was actually set by Kraven the Hunter. Well, technically Kraven's cloned son, but let's not get in the weeds on this one, shall we? Kraven says that he's come to hunt Elektra because she represents something that is so hard to find in the world right now, and that is a real, true, honest-to-God challenge. Hey man, I don't know, life's pretty challenging. I've already been up for 2 hours. And it's on that note right there, the comic comes to a close, everybody. And so that was Daredevil Woman Without Fear issue number 1. And honestly, this was probably the tie-in that I was most invested in, considering that this is the one written by Chip Zdarsky, the guy who's writing the main Devil's Reign book and was writing Daredevil before it spun off into a big event. For all those reasons and more, it should surprise no one that this book probably feels the most in line with the main Daredevil book and less with all the other action-packed, bombastic tie-ins we've seen so far. This is a laser-focused story about Elektra taking a walking tour through her own life, taking into account all the different choices she's made and really struggling to not backslide into old bad habits. So much of of the last year's worth of Zdarsky Daredevil stories have all been about Elektra trying to be a better person and rise to the occasion, and I like that this story says, yeah, changing is one thing, changing back is even harder. That's the real challenge. This miniseries had been sold as the big Elektra versus Kraven story that we've never seen before, and while that's certainly a cool angle, I like that there's a lot more going on here. Did Elektra actually see her mentor, or is Kraven inside her head doing the whole psychological warfare angle that he pulls out sometimes? I can't say for certain, but I'm definitely interested to see where this story goes and how it all shakes out. Overall, I'd give this one a very positive 8 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.